Hello, everyone. This is Oscar from Crunch Crowd, and welcome to this fun-sized film review of Fistful of Vengeance. Fistful of Vengeance is an enjoyable, entertaining, and exhilarating fantasy martial arts film. It has a few standout fight sequences that they're unfortunately accompanied though by a bare bones narrative, weak writing, and dialogue, and a disappointing final showdown. So if you didn't know about this film, it stars the masterful Indonesian martial arts performer Iko Uwais. He first appeared on screen in Gareth Evans' Merin Tower Warrior from 2009, but then had his breakout role and received international acclaim in The Raid from 2011, also directed by Gareth Evans. He's joined here by Lewis Tan and Lawrence Cao, and all of these actors reprised their roles from Wu Assassins, a 2019 Netflix series that Fistful of Vengeance is a direct sequel to. And so to briefly talk about Wu Assassins, while I would argue that series spends too much time fleshing out its plot and characters, not enough time on the action sequences, and this is especially a bit of an issue, I think, when its plot is a fairly conventional, chosen one narrative that often falls back a lot of cliches. It's a very familiar narrative that we already kind of know where it's going to go. Fistful of Vengeance has almost the opposite issue in that the action scenes are frequent and engaging, but in between these sequences, the plot moves along at far too rapid a pace, barely giving the audience any downtime to reflect on the events taking place. Admittedly, I'm not arguing that if this film's plot didn't have as much exposition needed, that it would need any downtime. Case in point, The Raid has only some small moments of downtime throughout its speedy time of about 95 to 100 minutes. But in this case, it makes narrative sense as the characters are battling every criminal in a large tower block and thus have little time to reflect. In addition, the narrative of The Raid is rather simple. Sure, there are named and established characters who we establish an emotional connection to over the course of the film. But as the whole film is set within the tower block, and the SWAT team led by Iko Uwais clear out every floor of the block of vicious, violent criminals, that's the sole focus of the film. And it's not certainly a multiple beautiful locations sort of adventure like Fistful of Vengeance is. You know, it's a very grimy and grey-looking film. But yeah, so Fistful of Vengeance, on the other hand, has numerous scenes of plot exposition, a decidedly more sprawling narrative than The Raid. Therefore, when these scenes are given so little time to further the plot, the whole narrative comes across as a bit rushed. But to be honest, a martial arts film can get by on a weak narrative, poor writing, and underdeveloped characterization as long as it delivers in the action department. I'm happy to say that Fistful of Vengeance definitely does deliver here. While its action set pieces are not as incredibly crafted and expertly filmed as those of Gareth Evans' The Raid and The Raid 2, or even some other films I would recommend, Timo Tjahjanto's Headshot and The Night Comes For Us. I think Timo Tjahjanto, I think that's how you say his name, but apologies if I'm getting that pronunciation wrong. The camera work here allows us to see the incredible martial arts prowess of Iko Uwais, Lewis Tan, Lawrence Cao, and also the newcomers Pearl Thusi, Juju Chan, Jason Tobin. And all of this as well just allows us to marvel at the excellent choreography of the film. So the action sequences are frequent and engaging. The standout is one particular sequence that is made to look like one take and uses digital transitions to cover changes in shot. It is really quite an impressive scene, even if the changes are rather obvious, as they very much look CG assisted and likely were. But anyway, it's still quite an impressive action set piece. So I'd say overall, if you're looking for a martial arts film that combines these astonishing fight sequences and a gripping narrative, it's not really the film for you. Instead, I'd implore you to check out The Raid, and especially The Raid 2, which expands out the narrative from a tower block setting into this sprawling crime saga about the Indonesian criminal underworld. And it's, to be honest, The Raid 2 is one of, if not my favorite action film of all time. I would probably say, to be honest, it's my favorite action film of all time. So that one comes highly recommended. Of course, I must put a little content warning here, though, is that if you're particularly squeamish with regards to violent content in films, then I'd not really recommend them on that front. They are very, very violent. So yeah, just as a content warning, they're very, very violent. They have 18 certificates from the BBFC for a reason. So just a little warning there. And same goes for same warning goes for Headshot and The Night Comes For Us, but if you can stomach all of those, if you can stomach lots of violence in a film, then and you're a fan of Asian action films, then I would recommend those films as well. So as it stands, I can just about say I recommend Fistful of Vengeance on the strength of its action sequences, but I wouldn't say you should go into it expecting much of a compelling story. One final point before I conclude is that there are some popular licensed songs used in the film, some licensed music, and sometimes it can really enhance the sort of excitement and exhilaration of an action scene. But other times it comes across as a bit distracting. It's a decent action film, I would say, regardless of its shortcomings. It's great to see Iko Uwais in another film doing his thing, defeating enemies, as I said before, with just his incredible martial arts performance. You know, he's an incredible martial arts performer, and yeah, like I say, if you can stomach lots of violence in films and like Asian action films, then I absolutely recommend checking out his other films. Yeah, so The Raid 2, Headshot, and The Night Comes For Us all come highly recommended by me. Again, with the content warning that they are very violent. So and yeah, they're 18 rated. So just keep that in mind. And yeah, other than that, thank you all for listening to this fun-sized film review. This has been Oscar from Crunch Crowd. Our social media links are in the description. And yeah, thank you very much for listening. And I'll see you all next time. Bye, everyone.